Hawaii is paradise. Everybody knows that, right? Hawaii is paradise. But look, Hawaii actually isn't the place for a lot of people. And myself, I've come and gone a few times and I somehow always find my way back. That's probably because of the pros. But a lot of people just aren't keeping it real with you about the cons. And that's why some people, it's just not for some people. So in this video, we're going to be going over the pros and cons of what it's really like to live in Hawaii right now. What's going on? Welcome to the Living in Hawaii channel. If you are new here, this channel is all about what it's like to live in Hawaii, the up, down, left, and right, everything that you need to know, whether you're thinking about making that move or if you're already here and you're trying to find that place that best fits your lifestyle. If you're not new here, welcome on back. Make sure you all hit that like button. It's going to help anybody else be able to find these helpful videos. Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and you get notified anytime that we put a new video out on this channel. And look, we get so many people reaching out every single day and we absolutely love it. And you can do the same thing too. All right. Because you don't want to be at an open house or whatever the case is. And then you run into me, and this has happened, and you run into me and you go, "Oh, I've seen you." And I'm like, "I haven't seen you, but you haven't reached out." Right. So make sure you shoot us that text, give us that call, send us that email, however you're comfortable getting a hold of us. We got your back when it comes to living in Hawaii. Let's go ahead and kick things off with the obvious pro number one of having great weather. All right. Obviously, we're in paradise. It's tropical, right? We have this great weather year round. And that's really why it's great, is because it's year round. And so if you're somebody like me who has always lived near the coast, right? Whether I lived in Georgia, Florida, no matter where I was near a coast. And especially because I grew up in Hawaii, right? I'm obviously near a coast here on this island. And I've always enjoyed great weather. And that's maybe why it's so easy for me here in Hawaii too, is just because I'm just used to this. I'm used to it being hot. I'm used to being near the coast, and I'm used to having great weather all the time. Now, some other places a little bit colder than it gets here. So in the summertime, yeah, it's probably about a 98-degree average, right, in the summertime. And that's kind of where we're at now in the time of this recording in June, or heading into July. But I swear, when you walk outside, like it's even for me, like I said, I'm used to it. But even when you walk outside, this isn't like Arizona hot or Nevada hot kind of thing, or even down there in the South in like the woods of, South Carolina type of thing. When you walk outside here in summer, it's like that sun is like wet. It's like it smacks you in the face and just like, oh my God, it's hot. Like get in the car and turn the AC on, right? If you don't have one of those like pre-start things. And my old car, I don't. So we get in the car and like the steering wheel's hot and we're like, oh, turn the AC on, right? Trying to get all the heat out of the car. And so it is pretty hot, but we do have great weather. And with that great weather, that means you can go surfing in the winter. You can go on the beach in the winter, right? In a lot of places, you can't do that. Here in Hawaii, it can be the winter, it can be December, and you can be cruising at the beach, right? Feet in the water, toes in the sand, hanging out, drinking a beer, whatever it is you like to do, if you're of age, of course. And then tons of other things, right? Hiking in the winter. So we're not trapped inside for 4 or 5 months out of the year because we don't live in a place that is extremely cold. So pretty cool. But yes, obvious pro right there is the great weather. Well, let's go ahead and give you our first con. And I'm sure you have heard this before, but we have some terrible traffic. Now in the summers, it lightens up a little bit because there's not a lot of people commuting their kids to school or buses on the road. But we do get some pretty bad traffic. And why is this? Well, basically in Oahu, we have this triangular island and we have only like a 3-highway system, right? So we have H1 going from east to west across the southern shores. In the middle, you're going to have H2 that's going to take you north. And then right around the city, Honolulu area, you're going to have H3 right around the Red Hill area, really. You can take the H3 that's going to take you to the windward side. So what happens then? Honolulu, or Waikiki, being the hub, right? The hub where a lot of people work, and a lot of people are commuting to work at the same time. So everybody in these highway systems that we just said are all commuting to this one spot at the same time, right? And that's usually going to be around 4:35 in the morning is when it starts to thicken up a little bit. There's a lot of people that try to get out a little bit earlier and beat everybody else. Maybe they go like to the gym nearby, get their workout in, and then just commute to work after. But right around that time, it starts to thicken up, and that lasts usually till about 9:30. If you're not off the road by then you're probably late for work usually, right? I'm imagining so. That's the morning time, right? And now in the afternoon, typically, if you're, let's say, leaving Honolulu and you're coming west, okay, you can expect, if you're not there before 3:30, usually about 3:30, you can expect to go ahead and start slowing down by the airport. And so when you're commuting west, you're going to hit the airport, right? You're going to come by the airport, and that's when it's going to start to thicken up around 3:30 if you don't beat it. So a lot of people they'll try to get off work earlier and try to beat all of that traffic. And everybody knows too, like, oh crap, 3:30, 4 o'clock is about to roll around. Ooh, I got to hurry up. And so anywhere from like 3:30 to 6:30. Now, of course, if somebody busts a tire or somebody tried to push the gas tank to the limits or didn't get their car serviced, or if there's a fender bender, anything that happens along any of these roads, forget about it. Forget about it. You're stuck, right? Hope you got a good playlist podcast, or you're just playing through my videos right here and listening in because you're paying attention to the road, right? And then, these things just really just put a stall on traffic. So it's crazy. One time when I was actually going to HPU for nursing, and that's on the windward side. So I used to plan my classes around traffic. I used to try to plan all my classes around traffic. But one time coming back, H3 stalled before we even got close to the exit to get onto the H1. I'm like, what's happening here? So we have this zip mobile that creates another HOV lane, and it moves. And as it's moving along, it moves the cinder blocks. And so the zip mobile broke. Well, come to find out, nobody on the island actually knows how to fix the zip mobile. We literally had to fly in somebody from the mainland to come and fix the zip mobile. I spent over 3 hours in traffic that day on an island trying to get from what should be, a 35, 40-minute drive from windward side to Kapolei at the time where I was living, over 3 hours in traffic. So yes, we do get some pretty bad traffic, and it can be quite the headache. Shifting from the con over to pro number 2 on our list is going to be the laid back lifestyle that we have out here in Hawaii. You have probably heard about this as well. And yes, it's true. We have a really, really chill, just laid back lifestyle. All right. And so what a lot of people call it is island time, aloha time, Hawaii time. And with that, we do things at a slower pace. This isn't LA. This isn't New York. This isn't Miami, where you've got a bunch of rude people. And I'm not saying, everybody's rude. That is a pretty generalized statement, but not everybody's rude and annoyed down there or in a rush. But for the most part, when you go to these cities, everybody's like smashing that horn the second the light turns green, and it's get out of my way. It's all about me, me, me. I got things to do and da-da-da. It's not like that here at all. Not like that at all. We have such a just laid back, slow down pace lifestyle. It'll get done, right? What you'll hear a lot too is no worries, right? No worries, right? We have no worries out here. We live in Hawaii, right? Why are we trying to stress ourselves out with some stuff that it can wait? It doesn't need to be done now, all right? It doesn't need to be done now. So we just kind of, hey, cruise. It's all right. We're just going to cruise. No worries. It'll get done. And then, hey, we're going to go hang out at the beach later, right? It'll get done. And that's just how it is out here. We have such a laid back lifestyle. Some people don't like that, right? And so we're going to talk about that too. But for the most part, it's something that a lot of people love is, man, it's just so chill here. That's like what we hear a lot too, right? And it's the feeling, it's the vibe, right? It's just really, it's really chill here. Now, con number 2 on our list may sound like we just talked about with it being a pro, is that laid back lifestyle. And so I just told you, like, everybody's like, chill, it'll happen. Well, sometimes we need things done, right? And especially at being a real estate agent out here, right? And we're in escrow, right? Which means we're under contract and we're helping somebody buy a house. And a lot of times people coming from the mainland come out here and they're like, oh, when do I get this? When do I get this? When do I get this? And I'm like, we have this timeline. It will be okay. Like, we're just very flexible. All right. Yes, we have dates and things that we need to hit, but I can't control if that other agent is doing something and they don't communicate with me, or maybe I got caught up with something because I got a family and I got things I'm doing too. So it's like, it's okay. It's okay. All right. Trust me, we're going to get through this. All right. And we just need to chill. And so a lot of times it's like an expectations thing. Like, hey, just so you know, like, this is how it is out here. Even if you're going to like a government office and you're trying to get your driver's license or your safety or your registration, stuff like that. Anytime you got to go down to one of them government offices, it's like, we'll get you to this in about like 7 to 10 days. And you're like, what? I need that now. or I need that in 2 days. It's like, no, not going to happen. Welcome to the islands. Like, that's just how it is. All right. And so sometimes that can be a con. And now whether you waited and you procrastinated, or if maybe you just got a date that like you just received and something needs to happen in a day or two, good luck with that. It's just not common for stuff like that to happen that fast out here. And then when it does happen, we're like, whoa, that was done pretty quick. It's just like it's a shock to us, and really so. That laid back lifestyle can play the other side of the fence and like, look, it's cool that everybody's got this chill vibe, but I need this to happen. Like I need this now. And so, and I get it. Like I said, I was raised here, but I've lived in a lot of other places, and I do get it. Like sometimes we just have to have that sense of urgency that things need to be done or communicated and whatnot. And so that's one thing we're big on too, as far as our Living in Hawaii team, is we're over communicators. We are always communicating. We're always sending text messages, emails, things like that. We're over communicators for a reason, so that everything is transparent and we're on top of things. Yes, they haven't responded yet, but we are on top of things, and we will get back to you as soon as they do. So that laid back lifestyle can play both ways. Pro number 3 on our list is another obvious one, and a lot of people come here for it, and that the beaches, right? And that beach lifestyle. So yes, the beaches are great, right? The beaches are obvious, that's obvious, but they're not all the same around the island too. And so if you're somebody that absolutely loves, being around a beach or being near a coast, like I've always been, right? And having your toes in the sand, then this is definitely going to be something that's a huge plus for you. All right. But not all the beaches are the same. And so what I mean by that is if you go down to Waikiki, like that sand down there is different. The coral, the reef, all that stuff is different. But then a lot of times it's overpopulated down there, and you're like, wow, I can't even see the sand because there's so many people. And now you're looking for another beach. And then you hear about Kailua or Lanikai, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna go check that out. Or let's go hang out over there today. Let me tell you what, Kailua and Lanikai, Lanikai is in Kailua, but they really are two separate beaches. And those two beaches can be crowded too, just as crowded as Waikiki. So now you're like, man, there's too many people here. I'm like, where's a beach that there's not a lot of people and it is a nice beach and things like that? And so you're looking for that one, right? And so there are some good options. If you keep heading north, actually on the windward side, up in like Hauula area, there's some really cool soft sand beaches, really nice views and things like that too, right? So you may not have the view of Diamond Head like you see right here, but you're going to have a lot less people, a lot less, like more peaceful. You're going to hear the wind and the ocean, like the waves. It's more, what is that, serene? Like it just feels more relaxing to be on a private beach, or not necessarily private beach. I don't mean to say private because no beaches are private, but you have more privacy. It's not as crowded versus some of these other ones. But the beaches definitely going to have a huge plus. And some of my favorite beaches even would be up there in Hauula, or sometimes even down here, Kolina. Now, Kolina is a huge tourist area, but usually the Fourth Lagoon, if you go to the Fourth Lagoon, because there's no like resorts or hotels around the Fourth Lagoon, the Fourth Lagoon can get pretty packed at times, but the Fourth Lagoon is a pretty cool hangout spot when we're looking at, and we have a vlog tour of Ko'olina on this channel, by the way. If you go to the Kapolei playlist, or if you search for Ko'olina, you'll see it. But we have a vlog tour where I take you all through Ko'olina and everything like that, and I show you those beaches. But it's like a little lagoon, and then they have man-made rock walls built so the waves don't come crashing in, right? And the kids really love it, and so that's where I take my kids a lot. And it's just really, it's like a pool, but it's the beach and it's the ocean, but it's like a pool because the waves are prevented from really like barreling over the kids, right? So one of our favorite spots to go to. Number 3 on this list is going to be just far away from everyone. If you haven't really oriented yourself to the geography of where Hawaii is, we are out here in the middle of the Pacific, and it's almost like dead smack in the middle between lands. So obviously you got Asia and all that stuff on this side, and then you got the United States mainland on this side. And it's like Hawaii, that little dot down there in the middle, and it's pretty far away from everybody. So how can this impact you, or why is this a con? Well, when you tell your family, or if you're in the military and you're moving out here and all your family hears that you're PCSing out here, or if you're not in the military and you're just making that move out here for a job or whatever the reason is, all your family's like, oh, that's so cool. That's so awesome, right? We're definitely going to come visit, and then crickets. Like crickets. Nobody comes out, right? Nobody actually makes that trip to come see you. If they do, it's once while you're here. It's like a one-time deal, because you got to think about it. Like it's pretty expensive, especially right now too. At the time of this recording, my wife was actually just looking at tickets, and it was $1,000 per person round trip for us to leave and actually fly to Vegas. So that leads me into my next topic of island fever. And island fever is a real thing, okay? And what island fever means is, look, we're on this island, we're on this rock, and the only way to get off of it, essentially, is go to the airport and catch a flight, right? That's essentially the only way to get off of it. And so a lot of people will get island fever. My wife and I, we leave at least 2 times a year, if not more, right? If not more. And so island fever is a real thing, and you hear a lot of people say it. And I was actually just talking to my cousin's boyfriend, husband, and now they're married. But I was talking to him, and he was saying too, he's like, I actually had a job thing out there for 6 weeks, and I was out there for 6 weeks, and he was just like, man, just couldn't get in the car and go anywhere. Like, you can, how many times can you drive around the island, or how many times can you do the same thing over and over? And so that was his perspective on it, right? And he was like, I couldn't wait to get back to California and just get back home. And that's the same thing for us too, is like why we leave, or why a lot of people leave, is because it's like, man, I just kind of need to experience something else, right? And I can't do that unless I get on this plane, right? If you're on the mainland, then hey, it's get in the car and you can go to the next state, right? And you can drive the highway or the freeway to the next state, go experience something else, and then come right back and, a 4-hour drive, which isn't very much at all, really. So pretty cool, but island fever is a real thing. Sticking with that same thing for pro number 4 is going to be the international airport. And now when you go to Hawaii's airport, or the Honolulu airport, you're going to see some airlines and some places and some things that you've just never seen before, right? And there's going to be a lot of them in different languages. And so we have this international airport, and I've already kind of told you where we are geographically within the world. And so that's why you see all these other airlines that do travel the other way, right? Around the world the other way, right? Australia being down there, Japan, the Philippines, China, Korea, all over that way, right? And then the mainland United States, Alaska being like straight up essentially, right? So the geography is crazy, but the international airport and having that is pretty cool. So if you are one of those that wants to see the world, right, Hawaii is actually a pretty cool spot to be, right? If you're one of those that wants to like, hey, I'm going to plant my roots here, but hey, I do want to travel the world and I want to see a bunch of other things. Hawaii has a great little access point. Even though we are such a small place, this international airport can get you to a lot of places. So that's actually really, really cool. And I think a lot of people really don't really realize that until they're at the airport and they go like, what airline is that? Like, I never heard of that, never seen that one in my life. I know Delta, I know American, I know Alaska, I know Hawaiian. I don't know what that one is, but that's pretty cool to see. And like I said, tons of people, the culture, everybody speaking different languages, all that stuff. But we have this international airport if you're planning on traveling the world. If you're a sports fanatic like me, then this one's going to hit home for you. So con number 4 is that we have no pro sports teams out here. And logically, yes, it makes sense, because for one, we don't have like a lot of the space, right, as a lot of these other places. And then the travel can be ridiculous. We were just talking about traveling, right? And so how that could cost a pro team out here, an arm and a leg, just to move the team to the next game. And it depends on the sport and stuff too, right? But we don't have any pro sports teams out here. So for me, someone who's lived in a bunch of other places too, when I lived in South Florida, I used to go, 30 minutes to the Marlins Stadium or to the Dolphins. And I'm not a fan of those teams, but I love watching sports. I used to watch the Miami Heat all the time. Right. And so a lot of times we will travel to the mainland just to go watch a sporting event. And again, that can be pretty hefty depending on the time and the price of fuel or, barrel of oil, whatever the case is. But it can get pretty expensive to do that. And so we just don't have that out here. One of the other pieces to this too, like let's say you're a big, NFL fan and you play fantasy football or whatever it is. Those games in the beginning of the season start at 7 a.m. Like 7 a.m. So we're not drinking beer and eating wings in the afternoon watching football. We're eating pancakes and drinking coffee in the morning watching football. And then that's the first slew of games. And the next ones start around 11 or noon. And then Monday Night Football, for instance, Monday Night Football kicks off at like 2:30. And so it's kind of weird. And it takes a little bit to get used to, right? Versus, that late kickoff on the East Coast, and depends where you are, right? But those are some things that you got to adjust to. NBA games, like the finals, right? We were just watching the finals at like 4:30 in the afternoon, which is an awkward time too. And when the Golden State Warriors just won. So a little awkward, but it takes an adjustment. So if you're a sports fan, this could be a factor for you. If you're not a sports fan, you're probably just waiting for me to finish talking about this topic to get to the next one, which I'm going to do right now. Pro number 5 on our list, and this is one of my favorite. All right, and this is one of my favorite because of where I originally was born. And so pro number 5 is the people. And a lot of times you'll see the thumb warriors on the internet, and there may be some in the comments of some of my videos too, these thumb warriors that have, whatever sort of a narrative or opinion they've found. In general, for the most part, coming from somebody who has grown up here, all right, I love the people here. I love the culture and I love the people here. And for me, when we say, we live that aloha lifestyle, to me, coming from somebody who was originally born in the South And then even when my brother and I, so side story, but my brother and I, we actually went to the Final Four down in New Orleans. And I haven't been in the South in a while. And so we were driving through. We actually stayed one night in Biloxi, Mississippi, and then we went to New Orleans. And I hadn't been in the South in a while, but the Southern hospitality thing is like it's real, right? It's super real, and it's just something I hadn't experienced in a while. So again, it was like a shock to me, because in some of these other cities, like we mentioned, it's like everybody's selfish and rude, and then the Southern hospitality was real, and I felt it. And I even said it to my brother. I was like, man, it must have been a while since I've been in the South, because like I'm just not used to people being like this in a way, right? Depending on where we're at. So my point is I'm comparing the Aloha lifestyle, or what we call the Aloha lifestyle, showing gratitude, right? Just being respectful, appreciative, kind, right? To me, it reminds me a lot of Southern hospitality. It really does. To me, it's very comparable to Southern hospitality, and how, like, you know, some random person holding the door for you, letting you go first, you know, traffic when we drive out here, right? And we're not in this huge rush. Earlier today, I was driving home from the gym with my son, and I was distracted by something, and the light was green. The car behind me didn't say anything. It had probably been green for like, I don't know, 5 or 10 seconds. And then I started going. I was like, oh crap. The car behind me just sat there. They didn't do anything. It's like, you know, we'll go soon. You know, it's kind of funny like that. And so a lot of times you're driving, you know, people are so nice. They're like, no, you go ahead. And then everybody waves out the window. Hey, thanks. Especially like those school pickup lines, right? Picking my son up from school in the afternoon. And of course, all the parents are there, right? Everybody's got their car and everybody's trying to get in and get out. But at the same time, everybody's like, hey, yeah, come on, go ahead. You know, cool, appreciate it. Hey, thanks. And so it's very nice like that. And so to me, the people are great. I love it out here with that. And the Aloha lifestyle is very comparable to Southern hospitality. Con number 5 on our list is natural disasters. And this isn't to scare you, but this is to let you know that it is different out here compared to just about anywhere else that you can think of. And we're going to go ahead and start that thing with volcanoes. All right. There's no other place in the United States that I know of anyway that has volcanoes, active volcanoes. And so they're not necessarily here on the island of Oahu, but Maui and Big Island, active volcanoes. And so what happens with that too is when they are active and those things are erupting, that it's called fog. What we call it is fog. And basically all the smoke and stuff in the air from the volcano, because of the trade winds, it just passes over the rest of the islands. And then it really just creates this like nasty air coming through. And then even my wife, like she just, when it's happening, she's like, oh, and her nose and her sinuses and all that stuff get messed up with the fog. So we have volcanoes, and that's just a rare natural disaster for us or for a lot of everybody else. But when you come out here, and like I said, Big Island really is the messiest one. But not necessarily on Oahu, just letting you know about the fog. We also do have a hurricane season. I don't think a lot of people realize that. We have a hurricane season just like Florida does. And I'm bringing up Florida because I lived in South Florida and I went through Wilma and a couple others. And we do have a hurricane season. A lot of times, the way the islands sit, they come up through the Pacific. And then when they're coming up, really, a lot of times the Big Island gets the blunt of it for the most part. Right. And then, you know, they take the blunt of it, and then it shifts and drifts, whether it comes like underneath the rest of the chain or over the top of the rest of the chain. And so living here on Oahu, we usually catch like the outskirt winds and rains. But we haven't been hit really hard in a very long time by a hurricane. We also will have tsunamis. Now, well, let me take that back. As long as I've lived here, I have never experienced a tsunami, but we do get tsunami warnings, is what I should have said. We get tsunami warnings, okay? And now what happens is an earthquake will happen in New Zealand or Japan, and then obviously that creates shifts in the earth and all that stuff. And I'm not trying to get too scientific, but then it basically creates these massive waves that start heading towards Hawaii. And we'll get note of this like in, you know, few days advance, a lot of times. But for the most part, like I said, I've never experienced a tsunami. And usually hurricane warnings, yes, a lot of people will, you know, kind of start buying all the toilet paper and whatnot with hurricane warnings, buying all the water, those types of things, getting ready for something like that. But as far as tsunamis go, from what I've experienced, most people don't bat an eye. You do you, but I'm just telling you, like, for the most part, most people don't bat an eye. They're like, oh, tsunami warning. And because we haven't been hit in so long, maybe that's why everybody's really laxed about it. The other thing that out here is earthquakes. We do have earthquakes. There was one not too long ago. I didn't necessarily feel it, but at the time, my buddy was over and he felt it. And I was like, nah, I didn't feel anything, but I was in a different room too. So I don't know. But we do have earthquakes over here as well. So lot of those common natural disasters that you may experience depends. Like, I'm not saying it will or won't happen, just letting you know that those are the things that we have out here to make you aware. I just gave you 5 pros and 5 cons of what it's really like to live in Hawaii, keeping it real with you and letting you know what the people are like, what kind of natural disasters we have, and all these other things that you will most likely experience if you're making that move out to Hawaii. And look, if you've made it this far and you haven't already hit the like button, please do so. It's going to help anybody else be able to find these helpful videos. Hit the subscribe button and that notification bell. That way you get notified anytime that we put a new video out on this channel. Like I said back in the beginning of this video, we get so many people reaching out, whether they're thinking about making that move, already determined in making that move, or they're already here and trying to find a place that best fits their lifestyle. Whichever one you fall under, you can reach out to us. You can shoot us a text, give us a call, send us an email. However you want to get a hold of us, we got your back when it comes to living in Hawaii. I mentioned a Ko-Olina vlog tour and a bunch of others. I have all those and more, tons of things. We're out there in the communities. We're doing these things. We're not always sitting here with a cool picture behind us or nothing like that. We're out there in the communities. Some of those videos are going to start popping up for you right now.